Hey friends, welcome to our Midweek Moment. Pastor Nicole here. So glad you clicked on. Well, this week we wrapped up our sermon series, John Wesley's Greatest Hits, where we have been talking about the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. John Wesley himself. John Wesley is, of course, the founder of the Methodist movement and why we are United Methodist today. And so we've been talking the last few weeks about some of his key pieces of theology that he has passed down to us and that still are important to us and help us to continue on being who God has called us to be. This week, we spent some time talking a little bit about a tricky topic, but an important one, and that was John Wesley's thoughts on money. Now, John Wesley was a pretty strict dude, and his finances were certainly a part of that. He taught, one of the things that he taught was that we should gain all we can, save all we can, give all we can. And what he meant by that is that we should earn all that we can earn. We should save, not save up for ourselves, but save ourselves from spending as much as we can. And then we should give away all that we can. And this kind of came from John Wesley's childhood or young adult life, I guess, where he had an experience that he couldn't give somebody who was in need money because he had spent it on something else. And this really just kind of flipped his world upside down. And from then on out, he always made sure that he left margin in his life, in his financial life, so that he could give money to those in need. Now, as a 21st century person reading John Wesley's advice on finances, it can be a little overwhelming. He's pretty strict. There's a lot of things that he has to say, especially around giving money to throwing away money on our children, that if he saw kind of our culture today, he would be aghast. He has some interesting things to say. One of the things I do think is interesting about John Wesley is that he would always say that the last part of the person to be converted to Christianity was their pocketbook. And I think the reason why he said that was because he knew the kind of the hold that money can have on the human heart. And, you know, that's not something that is original to John Wesley. I mean, Jesus talked about money more than almost any other topic. I think it's like the kingdom of God and then like money. Jesus knew the hold that money can have on a human heart. John Wesley followed that up with some teachings to say that the last part of a person that is converted is their wallet, because we do want to be in control of our finances. We want to be in control of the money that we earn. And John Wesley would teach that that's not really fair because it's not really our money. It's really the resources that God has gifted to us. And so we then owe it to God to use that in a godly way and in a godly manner. So just some interesting things to think about. You know, I think sometimes in the church, we shy away from talking about money. It's a hard topic. And I have found that people might give you a couple of weeks to talk about it around stewardship time. You know, we do ours in the fall. And so, you know, you've got those like couple of weeks that people might give you a little bit of leeway to talk about money. Sometimes even that, people are like, oh, it's about that time of year. I think I'll take the next few weeks off of church. Because people don't want to be told or shamed into what they should do with their money. And I totally get that, you know, I totally understand that. It's never my intention to shame people into giving, but I also know that if this is something that Jesus talks so passionately about, it's something that we should still consider today. So, you know, my thought with preaching on, I wasn't really planning to preach on that topic with John Wesley, but I threw out some ideas to the staff around John Wesley and they chose that one. And so I thought, wow, I'm going to listen to my staff because they're pretty wise and see where God takes this sermon. And I'm glad that we took a chance to talk about it. It was challenging for me to hear. You know, sometimes as a pastor, I find myself up there like, oh, I'm preaching to myself. Great. And those can be important sermons for preachers to hear too, right? So if you found yourself kind of feeling a little convicted or challenged, know that you're not alone. I was in the same place with that as well. And but I think that's good for us to kind of be pushed a little bit out of our comfort zone and to think about, well, how am I spending my money and how am I giving my money? And all of that stuff really matters. Am I giving it the proper attention, or am I just kind of going along with what I've always done? So it's good to have some time to think. So that's my challenge to you this week, is to just maybe take some time to think a little bit about those pieces of advice from John Wesley. Gain all you can, save all you can, give all you can. And how might you maybe tune your life a little bit so that you can be more in tune with what God is calling us to do with our finances? So gain all you can, save all you can, give all you can. The words of Mr. Wesley himself. Hope you've enjoyed this sermon on John Wesley. I hope you've learned some things. I hope you've been challenged. I hope you've been affirmed. And I hope it's just been maybe an opportunity to learn a little bit more about our tradition as Methodists, and why this fella is important enough to find a spot on my bookshelf. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. We'll see y'all soon. Have a good one. Bye.